Most Ford owners think their car is just wearing out over time. But in reality, it's often the settings you leave on without thinking. These hidden features might seem harmless, but using them can slowly increase wear and cause problems much earlier than expected. Let's begin. Number 10. Auto Start-Stop System. This is probably the most well-known feature, but also one of the most misunderstood. On paper, it sounds great. Your engine shuts off at red lights, saves fuel, reduces emissions. Everything seems positive. The problem is what it's doing behind the scenes over time. Every time your engine shuts off and starts again, you're creating an extra cycle. And while modern systems are designed to handle it, that doesn't mean there's zero impact. You're still putting additional stress on components like the starter, battery, and internal engine parts. Now think about how often this happens, especially in city driving. Dozens of times per day. That adds up quickly. Instead of your engine starting a few times per day, it's now starting constantly, and that repeated stress builds up over time. In Ford vehicles like the F-150 Escape or Explorer, this system can be active almost all the time if you don't disable it. And while it might save you a bit of fuel, it can contribute to increased wear in the long run, especially if the rest of your driving habits aren't ideal. The key here is not that the system is bad by itself, but that most people use it without thinking about the long-term effect. If you're driving in heavy traffic or doing a lot of short trips, constantly turning the engine on and off is not doing you any favors. Disabling it in certain situations, especially when you know you're going to be stopping and starting frequently, is a simple way to reduce unnecessary stress on your engine and its components. Number 9. Eco Mode, used all the time. Eco Mode is one of those features that people leave on permanently because they think it's helping the engine. Better fuel economy, smoother driving, less aggressive behavior. It sounds like the safe option, but when you use it all the time, it can actually create problems. What Eco Mode does is keep your engine operating at lower RPMs and reduces how aggressively the car responds. That might be fine occasionally, but over time it means your engine isn't working in the range where it can clean itself properly. In modern Ford engines, especially EcoBoost, running at low RPM constantly can lead to carbon buildup and incomplete combustion. The engine never really gets pushed enough to burn off deposits, and that buildup starts accumulating slowly. This is especially common in vehicles like the Escape or Explorer used mostly in the city. Short trips, low RPM, gentle driving. It all sounds good, but internally, the engine is not operating in optimal conditions long term. Over time, you may start noticing reduced responsiveness, less efficient performance, and in some cases, rougher operation. It's not immediate, but it builds up gradually. Eco Mode should be used as a tool, not as a permanent setting. Your engine needs variation. It needs to operate across different RPM ranges to stay clean and efficient. Leaving Eco Mode on all the time might feel like you're protecting the car, but in reality, you could be slowly working against it. Number 8. Adaptive Transmission Learning. Driving style influence. This is something most people don't even know exists, but it has a real impact on how your car behaves over time. Modern Ford transmissions are designed to adapt to your driving style. They learn how you accelerate, how you brake, and how you typically use the vehicle. On the surface, this sounds like a smart system. The car adjusts to you, making the driving experience more comfortable and personalized. The problem is that if your driving habits are not ideal, the transmission learns those habits too. If you drive aggressively, accelerate hard, or are inconsistent with throttle input, the transmission starts adapting to that behavior. Over time, this can lead to rougher shifts, less efficient gear changes, and unnecessary stress on internal components. Even the opposite can be an issue. If you drive too softly all the time, the transmission may become overly lazy, holding gears in ways that aren't always optimal for engine health or performance. In trucks like the F-150 or SUVs like the Explorer, where the transmission already plays a critical role, this becomes even more important. The way the vehicle shifts directly affects how the engine and drivetrain are stressed. Some people experience strange shifting behavior and don't understand why, when in reality, the car has simply adapted to their driving style over time. Being aware of this and occasionally resetting or driving more consistently can help keep the transmission operating in a more balanced and efficient way. It's one of those hidden systems that most people ignore, but it can make a noticeable difference in the long run. Number 7. Auto Engine Idle Shutdown. Extended idle settings. This one is often confused with the standard start-stop system, but it goes a bit further. Some Ford models are designed to shut down the engine automatically after a certain amount of idling time, even if you didn't manually trigger it. Again, on paper it sounds efficient, less fuel wasted, less emissions, but the way it interacts with real-world driving can be problematic. What happens here is constant thermal cycling. The engine heats up, shuts down, cools slightly, then restarts and heats up again. That repeated expansion and contraction of internal components might seem minor, but over time it adds stress to seals, gaskets, and internal tolerances. In situations like waiting in your car, short stops, or urban driving, this system can activate more often than you'd expect. And just like with start-stop, it's not a one-time event. It's something that repeats over and over again. In vehicles like the Explorer or F-150, where the engine is designed to handle load and maintain stable operation, this constant interruption can work against that stability. You're essentially preventing the engine from staying in a consistent operating condition. Again, the issue is not the system existing, but how it's used. Most people don't even know it's happening, so they never think about when it might make sense to disable it. If you're in situations where you're stopping frequently or not driving long enough for the engine to stabilize, letting it constantly shut down and restart is not doing you any favors long term. Number 6. Active grille shutters, cooling management system. This is one of those features that most people don't even realize their car has. Modern Ford vehicles use active grille shutters to control airflow into the engine bay. When the shutters are closed, the car improves aerodynamics and warms up faster. When they open, they allow air to cool the engine. It's a smart system, but like many modern features, it introduces complexity. And when something goes wrong or isn't working optimally, it can affect how your engine manages temperature. If the shutters don't open properly when they should, airflow is restricted. That can lead to higher engine temperatures, especially under load, like highway driving, towing, or hot weather conditions. Even if you don't get an immediate warning, running hotter than normal over time increases wear. On the other hand, if the system isn't closing properly, the engine may take longer to reach optimal temperature, especially in colder conditions. That means more time running inefficiently, more wear during warm-up, and less optimal combustion. The issue here is that it's not something you actively control, but it's still part of how the car manages itself. And when you combine this with other habits like short trips or poor maintenance, the effect becomes more noticeable. It's one more example of how modern systems, while designed to improve efficiency, can also introduce variables that most drivers are completely unaware of. Number 5. Remote start, used the wrong way. Remote start is one of those features people love because of convenience. You can start your car from inside your house, let it warm up, and get in comfortably. Sounds perfect. The problem is not the feature itself, but how most people use it. A very common habit is starting the car remotely, letting it run for a short time, and then getting in and driving immediately, often without considering whether the engine is actually ready. In many cases, the engine is still cold or not fully lubricated, especially in colder conditions. Another issue is letting the car idle for too long, thinking that more time equals better warm-up. In reality, excessive idling doesn't warm the engine as efficiently as driving gently, so you end up wasting fuel and still not getting the engine to optimal conditions quickly. This creates a situation where the engine either doesn't warm up properly before being used or spends too much time idling inefficiently. Both scenarios are not ideal for long-term engine health. In Ford vehicles with turbocharged engines, this becomes even more important. Proper warm-up is critical, and relying on remote start without understanding how to follow it up correctly can lead to unnecessary wear. The right way to use it is simple. If you use remote start, give the engine a moment, then drive gently. Not aggressively, not pushing it, just allowing it to reach proper temperature under light load. Used correctly, it's a great feature. Used incorrectly, it becomes just another habit that slowly works against your engine over time. Number 4. Drive modes, using them wrong all the time. Drive modes are one of those features that feel like you're getting more control over your car. Sport mode, normal, eco, tow, haul. Each one changes how the engine, transmission, and throttle behave. The problem is that most people don't actually understand what each mode is doing, and they end up using them in ways that don't make sense. For example, using sport mode all the time might feel more responsive, but it also keeps the engine at higher RPMs, holds gears longer, and increases overall stress on the drivetrain. Over time, that means more heat, more wear, and faster degradation of components. On the other side, using eco mode constantly, like we mentioned before, keeps everything too relaxed, leading to buildup and inefficient operation over time. The issue isn't the modes themselves, it's the lack of balance. In trucks like the F-150, tow-haul mode is another example. It's designed for specific situations like towing or carrying heavy loads. Using it when you don't need it changes how the transmission behaves and can lead to unnecessary stress. These modes are tools, not default settings. Each one is designed for a specific situation, and using them incorrectly just means you're forcing the vehicle to operate outside of optimal conditions. Understanding when to use each mode and not just leaving one permanently active makes a bigger difference than most people think. Number 3. Auto 4x4 mode, using it all the time. This one is especially important for truck owners. Ford's Auto 4x4 system is designed to engage when needed, giving you better traction in certain conditions like rain, snow, or loose terrain. It's a great feature, but it's not meant to be used all the time. When you leave Auto 4x4 engaged constantly, the system is always monitoring and sometimes engaging components of the drivetrain, even when it's not necessary. That means additional wear on parts that wouldn't normally be under stress during regular driving. In vehicles like the F-150 or Ranger, this can lead to increased wear on transfer case components, front differentials, and other drivetrain parts. You're essentially running a more complex system when you don't need to. It can also slightly affect fuel economy and overall efficiency, but the bigger concern is long-term wear. Over thousands of miles, that unnecessary engagement adds up. The system is there to help you when conditions require it, not to be your default driving mode. In normal, dry driving conditions, sticking to 2H is usually the better option. Using Auto 4x4 correctly means treating it as a situational tool, not something you leave on permanently just because it's available. Number 2. Battery management, smart charging system. This is one of the more advanced systems, and most people don't even realize it's working in the background. Modern Ford vehicles use smart charging systems that adjust how the battery is charged based on driving conditions, load, and efficiency goals. On paper, it's designed to extend battery life and improve fuel economy. But in real-world use, especially when combined with features like start-stop, it can create situations where the battery is under more stress than expected. Frequent start-stop cycles, variable charging patterns, and short trips can all contribute to the battery not being consistently charged the way it should. Over time, this can lead to reduced battery life and unexpected issues. And here's the part most people don't connect. When the battery isn't in good condition, it affects more than just starting the car. Modern vehicles rely heavily on electronics, and a weak battery can cause all kinds of strange behavior, from warning lights to inconsistent system performance. In vehicles like the Explorer, Escape, or F-150, where there are multiple electronic systems working together, this becomes even more noticeable. The system itself isn't the problem. It's how it interacts with driving habits. Short trips, constant start-stop use, and lack of awareness can all contribute to the battery wearing out faster than expected. Keeping an eye on battery health and understanding how these systems work together is key if you want to avoid unexpected issues down the line. Number 1. Auto hold, brake hold, constant use in traffic. Auto hold is one of those features that feels incredibly convenient, especially in traffic. You come to a stop, take your foot off the brake, and the car holds itself in place. No need to keep pressure on the pedal. It's comfortable, simple, and very easy to get used to. The issue is that it keeps the braking system engaged continuously when you're stopped. While that might not seem like a big deal, over time it can contribute to additional heat and wear, especially in heavy traffic situations where you're stopping and starting frequently. In normal driving, braking is a more dynamic process. You apply pressure, release, and the system has time to cool and reset. With auto hold constantly engaged, you're maintaining pressure on components for longer periods than usual. Over time, this can lead to slightly increased wear on brake components, especially if combined with aggressive driving or heavy use. Again, this doesn't mean the feature is bad. It just means that using it all the time without thinking about it can contribute to wear that most people don't consider. Like many of the systems we've talked about, it's about balance. Use it when it makes sense, but don't rely on it constantly without understanding what's happening underneath. So there you have it. These are the hidden Ford settings that might seem harmless, but can slowly wear your car down if you're not using them the right way. Pay attention to how your car is actually working, not just how it feels. Small changes now can save you a lot later. See you on the road, buddy.